Give me 21 minutes of your time and I'll show you how to make $1 million. That's not hype, it's not clickbait. It's a statement built on patterns, frameworks, and strategies that have been repeated by entrepreneurs around the world in every industry that you can imagine across decades of trial and error. Now, I myself have built 4 companies over the last decade, each achieving at least $1 million in revenue. Because here's the truth, $1 million is not as far away as it feels sometimes, especially when you're staring at a blank page wondering where to start. It's not some untouchable number reserved for people with family money or Silicon Valley connections or once-in-a-lifetime luck. It's a destination that you can actually reverse engineer if you know the steps, if you know the milestones, and if you know how to think like people who've already done it before. So over the next 21 minutes, I'm going to walk you through those steps, not theories, not vague motivation, but actual architecture, the scaffolding that takes someone from 0 to their first million. We'll cover the foundations that every entrepreneur has to build before they can scale, the transition points where most people stumble and fail, and the systems that separate a business that drifts aimlessly from one that compounds into serious wealth. And here's why it matters for you. Once you see the roadmap, you'll realize that the $1 million mark isn't just possible, it's predictable. You'll understand what has to come first, what comes next, and what cannot be skipped if you want your business to hit 7 figures and beyond. So let's dive in, because the clock is already ticking on the 21 minutes. Step 1 is the groundwork, the stage nobody wants to do, but everybody who makes real money has already mastered. It's the part of the journey that looks boring from the outside because you're not posting screenshots of revenue or flexing logos of clients, but it's the part that quietly decides whether your business ever stands a chance of hitting 7 figures or not. The groundwork is about laying down the foundation that every other stage is going to rest on. So without it, your side hustles will fizzle out, your offers won't land, and your systems won't scale. But with that groundwork in place, everything you build later has weight, traction, and staying power. Think about it like this. Before an athlete ever wins medals on the world stage, they spend years building muscle memory in the gym, running drills that look boring to everyone else, but that's what creates the foundation for peak performance later. In business, that looks like developing commercial awareness, the deep understanding of how money flows through a company, how products are created, marketed, sold, and delivered, and what levers actually move revenue. Without this, you're basically flying blind. And the fastest way to develop that awareness is not by reading endless theory, but by apprenticing under someone who is already doing it well. That is where self-awareness enters the picture. Because here's the reality, not everyone is wired the same way. Some people are natural builders, others are better sellers. Some thrive in operations while others shine in creative roles. You don't need to be everything at once, but you do need to know which role you can dominate and which you'll need to eventually delegate to others. That clarity doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from being in the arena, watching how you handle pressure, noticing which parts of business excite you versus drain you, and being honest about what you're not good at yet. And then there's access to resources. If commercial awareness is the map and self-awareness is the compass, then access to resources is the vehicle you're going to drive. Remember, resources doesn't just mean money. Although having a small pool of capital certainly helps, it also means networks, relationships, tools, and even just the knowledge of where to find what you need when you hit a wall. Maybe that's learning how to run your first ad campaign with $50 instead of $5,000. Maybe it's finding out how to find freelancers on platforms like Upwork who can build what you can't. Maybe it's simply having the confidence to ask for help or to pitch your idea, or maybe join forces with people who complement your skill set. Now, the mistake that most people make at this stage is rushing through it. People often see the groundwork as wasted time. They want to skip straight to launches, products, funnels, revenue, and I get it. But here's the brutal truth around that. Skipping the groundwork is exactly why so many entrepreneurs burn years chasing ideas that ultimately go nowhere. They build on sand instead of stone. They don't know how to test whether an opportunity is viable. They don't understand their own blind spots. They don't even have a small pool of resources to survive the inevitable setbacks. And when that first storm hits, which it always does, their business falls apart. But when you do it right, the groundwork becomes your unfair advantage. Because now, when you move into testing ideas, you're not flailing in the dark. You're moving with precision. You understand the mechanics of business. You know where you fit in the whole ecosystem. And you've already built the muscle to find and deploy resources quickly. You're not scrambling to survive. You're strategically preparing to thrive. And here's the point that most people miss. Making $1 million isn't about one big leap. It's about stacking small advantages again and again until momentum compounds. The groundwork is where those advantages begin. Okay, step 2. This is the spark test. The moment where ideas stop living in your head and start colliding with the real world. Every $1 million business begins with a spark, but not every spark is worth fanning into a flame. The trick here is learning how to separate the sparks that catch fire from the ones that just burn out. Most people get this wrong. They treat their very first idea like it's already sacred, already polished, already the business that they'll be running for the next 10 years. So they pour weeks into designing logos, tinkering with websites, sketching business cards, and perfecting brand colors. And by the time they finally release it into the wild, they've built something that no one was actually asking for. The spark test flips that script completely. Instead of asking, how do I make this perfect? The real question is, how fast can I see if this actually ignites? Because the difference between a dream and a 7-figure company isn't the polish, it's the proof. This is why we say things like product market fit. Proof that the market cares. Proof that people are willing to pay. Proof that the idea deserves more of your time, more of your energy, and more of your resources. Without that proof, your spark stays just that, a flash of light with no fire. With it though, you've got the first flame of something unstoppable. So here's the shift. Stop thinking like a romantic and start thinking like a scientist. Because a scientist doesn't fall in love with one experiment. They run dozens of experiments, cheap and quick, trying to see which one points to a breakthrough. And that's exactly how you need to treat your ideas. Think of each spark as an experiment with a hypothesis. If I put this in front of the right people, will they care? If I make this offer, will anyone say yes? If I position it this way, does it resonate enough to move someone towards action? And yes, well, there's always a catch. So here is the catch. You don't need to be right every time. You just need one spark that catches. The beautiful thing about the world we live in is that testing sparks has never been cheaper or faster. A spark can be tested with something as simple as a landing page, a single screen with a headline, a few bullet points, and a button that says sign me up. You don't even need a product built yet. You just need to see if people click. Or you can run a waitlist campaign. Tell people what's coming. See how many people join. See if they'll leave their email, or better yet, pre-commit with a small payment. You can even test a spark with content. Drop a TikTok, a LinkedIn post, or a YouTube short about the idea. If nobody cares, you haven't lost much. But if people flood the comments saying, where can I get this? You might have struck gold. The spark test isn't about vanity. It's not about likes, shares, or superficial metrics. It's about one thing: behavior. Will people actually take action that costs them time, effort, or money? Will they give their email? Will they put their credit card down? Will they commit to a conversation about it? If the answer is yes, that spark just passed the test. If the answer is no, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you just got free feedback before wasting years chasing the wrong idea. Here's where most entrepreneurs fail the spark test. They get attached. They fall in love with their first idea and ignore the signs that the market isn't interested. They treat rejection as an insult instead of the most valuable data that they could possibly receive. But when you learn to detach, to treat each spark like a temporary experiment instead of your identity, you unlock speed. You can run 10 sparks in the time someone else spends polishing one. And that speed gives you the ability to find winners faster than the competition. And here's why the spark test matters so much. A single validated spark can change your trajectory overnight. Because once you know that people care, and once you know there's heat, you can throw fuel on it with confidence. You can build around it, invest in it, and scale it knowing that you're not just chasing shadows. Think of sparks as filters. 90% will burn out quickly, but the 10% that light up, Those are the ones that can ride to 6 figures, then 7 and beyond. So here's the rhythm. Stop guessing, start testing. Don't polish sparks, light them, measure them, and move fast. Because the market doesn't care how long you've been working on your dream. It only cares whether the spark ignites. Step 3 is the momentum engine, the stage where you stop celebrating random wins and start proving that your business can generate results on repeat. Up until now, you've been scrappy. You had the spark, you validated it, you hustled to grab those first few customers. But here's the reality. A spark by itself doesn't build a company. What builds a company is momentum, the ability to attract, convert, and deliver consistently, week after week, until it feels inevitable. And this is where most entrepreneurs stall. They get that first taste of success, maybe a handful of sales, maybe small client base, but instead of building a system around it, they treat each one like a new mountain to climb. Every new deal feels like starting at zero. That's exhausting, and eventually it burns you out. The businesses that break through don't rely on luck, personality, or constant hustle. They build a momentum engine, a structured, repeatable rhythm of actions that doesn't care whether you feel motivated on Monday or drained on Friday. It just runs. And here's how it works. A true momentum engine has 3 moving parts: attraction, conversion, and delivery. Attraction is how new people discover you. Conversion is how you turn that attention into commitment, and delivery is how you keep customers happy so they keep coming back, refer others, and keep your cycle alive. Most entrepreneurs treat these like separate tasks. They create content one week, scramble to sell the next, then try and figure out fulfillment later. That's not an engine, it's a hamster wheel. In a real momentum engine, these 3 pieces are linked together so that each one fuels the next. Attraction feeds conversion. Conversion flows into delivery. Delivery loops back into attraction through testimonials, referrals, word of mouth. Think of it like gears in a machine. If one gear spins on its own, the machine doesn't go anywhere. But when they lock together, one turn sets the whole system in motion. That's what you're building here. Not isolated wins, but a loop that compounds. So how do you know when you've actually built a momentum engine? Simple. When you can predict results. If you know that creating X amount of content brings in Y number of leads, and Y number of leads creates Z number of sales, you're no longer guessing. You're running a machine. The shift is this. Stop thinking in terms of wins and start thinking in terms of loops. A spark can get attention, but a momentum engine creates inevitability. Once it's running, it's harder to stop growing than it is to keep growing. That's the point, where a side hustle becomes a business and a business becomes something that can realistically hit the million. Okay, step 4 is the expansion framework, the stage where you take the foundation you've already proven that works and build it into something far bigger than yourself. At 6 figures, hustle, grit, it gets you that far. At 7 figures and beyond, those same habits will ultimately hold you back. This is the stage that separates businesses that stall at 500K from those that compound past 5 million plus. It's not about working harder, it's about expanding smarter. Multiplying people, installing systems, stacking new streams of growth that carry the business further than your own personal output ever could. In my business, we have 30 people. We run project management on a Monday.com project management tool. We have internal systems where people communicate through Slack to make sure that projects are getting managed and handled and ran through. This all happens under project management and account management so that there's visibility on the machine at large and everything works synergistically together. Most entrepreneurs stall because they keep running the same playbook that worked in the beginning. Founder stays the center of gravity. Every major sale requires their personal touch. Systems are held together with spreadsheets and late nights. That's why so many hit a ceiling. The bottleneck isn't the market, it's them. The expansion framework solves that problem. It shifts the question from how do I get more done to how do I design something that gets done without me. That's the leap from operator to architect, multiplier in chief. Expansion rests on 3 levers: people, systems, and streams. Each one multiplies output without multiplying your personal hours. So lever number 1, people. Building beyond yourself. At the start, you wore every hat: marketing, sales, delivery, customer service. That works at 10K a month. It even drags you to six figures. But past that point, it becomes really destructive. Expansion means multiplying people, not just doers who check boxes, but owners that carry responsibility. The three critical roles for me are sales and marketing, someone who ensures leads keep flowing; delivery of success, someone who keeps clients thrilled and results consistent; and then operations and support, someone who makes sure the machine runs without fires. And then number three, operations and support, someone who makes sure the machine runs without fires to put out. When those roles are filled, you're no longer the bottleneck, you're the conductor. When those roles are filled, you're no longer the bottleneck, you're the conductor, guiding the orchestra instead of playing every instrument yourself. Lever number two is the systems, replacing hustle with infrastructure. If people are the players, systems are the playbook. Hustle doesn't scale, but systems very much do. A system is a simple, repeatable process that produces consistent results without you in the middle. Think onboarding that runs smoothly without you, or campaigns that launch from templates instead of scratch. Delivery that's executed the same way every time, whether you touch it or not. The right CRM follows up while you sleep. The right project management tool keeps tasks moving without your micromanagement. And the right analytics dashboard